The death of a presidency is the birth of another. On the morning of November 7th, American voters closed the chapter on the Trump administration by electing Joe Biden as the 46th president. A common sentiment shared by progressives on the left is that we're not celebrating the victory of Joe Biden so much as we're celebrating the defeat of Donald Trump. Given that this is the first episode of Just Sayin, I can assure you that we will dig into Uncle Joe in a future episode. But today I want to go ahead and sink my teeth into some fresh Trump meat. So where do we begin with Donald fucking Trump? Truly, and I mean this honestly, Donald Trump is a special specimen that could have only been made in America. From the outside looking in, it's easy to see Trump as a Thanos-like character, a tyrant who devours communities and leaves nothing but disappointment, death, and destruction in his wake. Those characteristics are very much true, but like all complex comic book villains, it's important that we recognize how we got here and where Trump started. The son of Fred Trump, a multi-million-dollar white supremacist, low-income housing developer who was sued by the Department of Justice on the basis of anti-black housing discrimination. Young Donald Trump was a spoiled brat then, just the same way as he is now. As a child, he was a bully who threatened to throw classmates off the building, and he was nearly expelled for assaulting a teacher. In her groundbreaking book, Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man, Mary L. Trump, the niece of Donald J. Trump, and an American psychologist, revealed a vivid portrait of the inner workings of the Trump family and how their families' twisted dynamics bred the dishonesty, the manipulation, and this elitist worldview that shackles Trump in a 74-year-long bubble that has him barely equipped with the social, interpersonal, and political experience to be a good friend, let alone a good husband, a father, and definitely a president. Quote, I hope this book will end the practice of referring to Donald's strategies or agendas as if he operates according to any organizing principles. He doesn't. Donald's ego has been and is a fragile and inadequate barrier between him and the real world, which, thanks to his father's money and power, he never had to negotiate by himself. Donald has always needed to perpetuate the fiction my grandfather started that he is strong, smart, and otherwise extraordinary, because facing the truth that he is none of those things is too terrifying for him to contemplate. Trump loved referring to himself as a self-made man, but he undercuts not just the small loan of $1 million that he received from his pops, but also the number of times he had to get his daddy to co-sign a loan so Trump could grow his real estate and political connections. Even though he expanded into real estate development and entertainment, the only real value Trump offered was his brand recognition. Given how much blind trust we give to extraordinary wealthy people, it's no surprise that Trump's brand of excess and extravagance exploded in the 80s through the 2000s. Over the course of 40 years, Trump licensed his name to over 50 different companies, slapping his name on everything from Trump Ice to Trump Steaks, golf courses, casinos like the Trump Taj Mahal, Trump University, and all the botched hotels around the world that bear his name. Out of all those business ventures and schemes, it was actually The Apprentice that set up his eventual rise to power. With a show like The Apprentice, for the first time, Americans could actually see how a billionaire runs his business, or at least that was the image. Bill Pruitt, one of the producers of The Apprentice, had this to say, quote, We walked through the offices and saw chipped furniture. We saw a crumbling empire at every turn. Our job was to make it seem otherwise. If those fake boardroom walls could talk, they would have warned us about all the fake walls Trump would promise to build up or tear down as president. The apprentice aside, no moment foreshadows Trump's style as a future political figure than the moment he threw fire on the Obama birther conspiracy theory. For those of you who don't recall, back when President Obama was in office, a bunch of shithole Republicans has started a rumor that Obama was a Muslim born in Kenya and was therefore unqualified to be president. Republican officials like Senator Roy Moore, Sarah Palin, Mike Huckabee, and Newt Gingrich all helped to fabricate this racist, Islamophobic conspiracy theory. But it was Trump who became the face of that campaign. And it is that flavor of blatant racism and xenophobia and Islamophobia that launched Trump's 2016 presidential campaign when he descended down a gold escalator and gave a speech that woke up the sleeping Grand Dragon and America's white supremacist underbelly. Quote, "When did we beat Japan at anything? They send their cars over by the millions, and what do we do? When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? It doesn't exist, folks. They beat us all the time. When do we beat Mexico? At the border. They're laughing at us, our stupidity, and now they're beating us economically. They're not our friend, believe me, but they're killing us economically. The US has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you, it's true, and these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. From his ban on Muslims entering the country to his role as a figurehead of the alt-right, Donald J. Trump has played a key role in commercializing and normalizing overt white supremacy in American politics. Look, if I had to sit here and talk about his crimes against humanity in full detail, we would be here all night. The unstoppable force of privilege known as Donald J. Trump was chin-checked by an immovable centrist and sleepy, creepy, neoliberal Joe Biden. Am I happy to cheer for Biden? Fuck no. But I do love celebrating over Trump's loss. And we should celebrate because this is a victory more than 4 years in the making. From the organizations and politicians who laid the foundation for change to take place on the ground level, to the smaller figures like journalists and parents who educated their peers about the dangers of Trump in the White House. This moment feels like a win for us. So take all this optimistic energy and relish in this blissful feeling because sadly, it ain't gonna last. For the next 2 months, Trump will probably make our lives a disaster. And there's no telling how his supporters will lash out at this loss or if they'll even accept it. For 74 long years, America has had a deal with Donald Trump, and the last 4 of those years represent some of the most difficult years in many Americans' lives. But what we are feeling now could simply be a microcosm of what may happen when the egg sac of Trumpism explodes and all the people he inspired become the next generation of right-wing leaders. Trump's job in the Oval Office is soon to be over. But our job of chin-checking and fact-checking Trump and his legion of loyal followers has just begun. Like all great video game bosses, Trumpism is still alive, and whatever it morphs into next will be our next puzzle to solve.